Coming up on Network Africa. The death toll rises in the cholera outbreak in Malawi. Police in Nigeria question 8 people over the death of singer Davido's son. Plus, protests erupts in the DRC city of Goma, denouncing Rwanda's alleged support of M23 rebels. A warm good afternoon to our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. I'm Amarachi Ubani. I begin with an update on the number of deaths resulting from a cholera outbreak in Malawi. Health Ministry says the toll has risen to 183 from 110 from early in October. They fear the rate of infections has been rising, with a cumulative number of cases since the outbreak began in March now at over 6,000. Apart from the deaths being attributed to poor food hygiene among communities, lack of safe drinking water and a lack of and improper use of toilets, cholera remains an acute diarrheal infection usually caused by eating or drinking contaminated food or water, and is closely linked to poor sanitation. According to Health Minister Kumbize Chiponda, some patients were not seeking treatments for religious reasons, while others were visiting hospitals when it was already late. Let's bring in Malawian journalist Florence Mwale. She joins us from the city of Blantyre. Florence, thank you for joining us on the program today. And while the government acknowledges that people are not taking responsibility for their own health and safety, what has been the government's efforts in curbing the spread of cholera in the country?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Since we had our first case in March this year, the government has indeed put in some measures, and these include banning the consumption of food, especially in social gatherings. Well, some district council put down these measures, especially when it comes to funerals or weddings as well. And also the government came up with a plan to also ban the sale of foodstuffs in schools so that young children also do not consume and food that is cooked in unsafe places, and in turn make sure that they are also ensuring that the cases are not rising as they are at the moment.
And obviously, Florence, sorry, a lot of background noise there from your end. Obviously, the numbers keep increasing. Are people even aware how dangerous cholera is?
There are some people who are aware that we have this outbreak going on in the country. However, we still have a large majority of people who believe that they may not get infected. Even though we had the vaccine sometime back in May, not that many people came up and got vaccinated because of their beliefs, while some others believe that just like with COVID-19, it'll pass them by and they won't even get infected, while others, just because of their spiritual beliefs, they do not even go to the hospital, get treated, and some do not know about the disease at all. So it's mostly just beliefs and that people have, and also, as I said, they need to raise public awareness. So not that everyone is aware of it, mostly that people in the villages, they don't know much about it. So when they do have the disease, they don't know what measures to take or which hospitals or which medication that they can take also to make sure that they treat themselves or treat those that are around.
Yeah, and just once again, Florence, there's a lot of background noise coming from your end. If you could just reduce that just a little bit, or have the people around you control the noise in the background. And I'm glad you mentioned, you know, the parts of the country that are more susceptible to others, you know, with the infections. But over 6,000 of them since the outbreak in March. And this is coming from the Health Ministry. And we also understand that for religious reasons, people are also being affected. How is that a factor in the spread of the infection?
Malawians are very spiritual people, and they always listen to what their pastors in their various churches are telling them. So if you tell them that if you do not take this medication or if you do not get vaccinated, nothing is going to happen to you, they will believe that and they will take it to heart and they will follow whatsoever they're being told in their churches. So this also had a very large bearing on making sure that the disease does not spread.
Florence, thank you again for joining us on the program, and of course, do stay safe.
Thank you for having me.
To another health emergency. This time, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control says the country is at high risk of importation of the Ebola virus following an outbreak of the disease in Uganda. Even though both countries do not share a border, authorities say they're on alert and measures have been put in place to prevent and mitigate the impact of a potential outbreak in Nigeria, including increased surveillance and screening of passengers at airports. There's already a travel advisory for Nigerians against travel to Uganda for now until public health authorities determine the outbreak has been contained. But that where travel to Uganda is unavoidable, travelers should avoid contact with obviously sick persons or suspected cases of Ebola. According to the NCDC, passengers coming from or passing through Uganda are being followed up for 21 days from the day they arrive in Nigeria. And the response teams are also on standby for deployment in case of an outbreak. To one of the stories making real headlines here in Nigeria and perhaps across the world. Police have been interrogating 8 domestic staff of Afrobeat star Davido over the death of his son, Ifeanyi, who drowned in the Banana Island home of him and his fiancée, Chioma, on Monday. Davido and Chioma Rowland, a popular chef and influencer, are yet to comment on their son's death. Police spokesperson Benjamin Hundeyin says one of the couple's domestic staff called the police at 10 in the evening on Monday. He says officers are reviewing the CCTV cameras to get additional information about the circumstances of his death and are in touch with the little boy's parents. Both were said to have traveled on Monday and left Ifeanyi, their son, with his minders. Meanwhile, celebrities worldwide have been commiserating with the couple and sending their thoughts and prayers. Well, joining me now is Channels Television's entertainment correspondent, Bidemi Dairo, who's been following pretty closely what's been going on. And you've been having conversations, with people who are close to Davido and probably Chioma herself. Really sad news coming today. For a lot of people, it was really shocking that this happened on Monday. But when did it become, real news for you? Because there was a lot of confusion at the beginning. What was real, what was not? When were you certain that this really happened?
Thank you very much, Amarachi. Of course, as a parent myself, it's quite painful to speak about the death of a 3-year-old, say less of how much Davido and Chioma might be feeling at this time. So when the story started making the rounds as a rumor initially, it was start of disbelief. People didn't want it to be true. People were hoping that it was some expensive joke and all of that. And of course, the people around him were not immediately available to answer to questions and all of that. But at some point, I got through to someone who didn't want to be named, and he confirmed to me that Davido was extremely devastated, and that it did happen. And eventually, later this morning, the police confirmed to us, and it became very clear that we had a tragedy in our hands.
Well, understandable why they're not saying anything. Their grief, is
Absolutely
unimaginable at this time. And as we're learning, they were not at home, when this happened. They left the child with a few of the domestic staff who were supposed to be minding him, the period of time that they were not at home. What are you hearing from those around them, about their state of mind at this moment? What they're probably feeling and, the kinds of, thoughts running through their minds and the conversations they're having with those who are with them at this time?
So the first person I spoke to, the first thing he said to me is, Davido is dead. Davido is dead. And of course, I could imagine what he meant, because of course, David has shown over the years that he's a doting father to his kids. But he said in an interview also that Ifeanyi is quite special,
He is his only son, isn't he?
His only son, yeah. He said he's quite special, and he's been always posting pictures. And he just celebrated his 3rd birthday with him, so you could feel that closeness and with him. And he's over the years has had to deal with death within his circle and all of that. So it's easy for someone to pass it on and say, oh, he will cope and all of that. But you know what they say about how small the coffins are, how much heavier they become. So this is really going to be very painful for him. And like the guy said, he's completely devastated.
Yeah, completely devastated. I know you can relate with that, and the loss of a child, big or small, incomparable, you know, to any experience of any kind. Davido, we understand, also has a few engagements that, you know, he had already arranged for the rest of the year, probably the rest of the month as well. What do you think would happen? Would that be put on hold, you know, because of what has happened, which would be understandable, of course, to the fans, many of them who were also going through this with them?
So I think a few days ago he had posted a message on his Twitter handle and saying November is going to be a month of blessing. He has 3 gigs lined up, including one for the inauguration of his uncle as the new governor of Osun State. But people have different threshold and coping mechanism for pain and death, and I hope that he's able to cope with this. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if he had to cancel all of this.
Yeah, and, you know, for the responses, the commiserations and condolences coming in, a number of celebrities as well have been commenting. I saw tweets from Owaje and, you know, a few of them. And also...
Ayomakun AY, Steph London, the UK-based rapper, you know, people condolences have been coming in from different parts of the world. Yeah.
Right. But here in Nigeria as well, interestingly, presidential candidates for the different political parties, I understand, have also expressed their condolences. A number of them have also put, you know, suspended, you know, some of their campaigns as well in honor of Davido. Let's talk about how much of an impact the young man himself had, you know, on the lives of people around the world. You know, what hope he represented, you know, for not just people in the industry, but also, you know, people everywhere.
All right, so there's this thing about Davido, and he always says, we rise by lifting others. So he has always been involved in different humanitarian activities. He's a happy person. He's always love to have people around him, you know, interact with a lot of people a lot. So it's not surprising to see a lot of people feel grief and share in his grief and feel his pain, because he has shared his happy moments with people, and he has shared in their own happy moments as well. He has been there for a lot of people when they needed help, when they needed shoulders, and when they needed people to pull them up. So he has shown a lot of humanity to a lot of his people, and to people, even sometimes strangers. So it's not sad to see people suspend their activities and mourn with him.
I know that people have also been recalling a similar incident which happened with also Nigerian music star D'banj back in 2018 at a swimming pool in his home. He lost his first son as well, and people have been recalling that and comparing, you know, what has happened side by side. We've heard some of the criticisms. We've also heard, you know, people just calling for people to be more sympathetic at this time. How fair is it really to be comparing, you know, both scenarios? You know, the grief of both parents. I know D'banj may have seemed like he's moved on, but that was his first son as well, his first child.
I see a lot of that on social media and in some reportages as well, but the first thing that came to my mind is D'banj will start reliving those moments again. The pain will start coming for him and his family again, and it's like picking old scab. And I think it's best if we just allow the grieving families to just grieve and allow people to move on and try to at least continue to live their life and leave the grief in the past.
Yeah, a really big story here. Police will be, of course, revealing what they find out, you know, from those domestic workers. You know, at this point, we really can't say much, can we?
No, we can't. We just wait to see what they... according to them, they are reviewing the CCTV footage, and they've questioned about 8 of the domestic staff. So we'll wait to see what their findings are.
I will be reaching out to you, of course, for the reactions. Thank you so much, Bidemi, for being here. And we'll turn now to Ethiopia, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is blaming what he's called heavy foreign interference for not being able to continue talks between the government and the Tigray administration, but remains hopeful about a peace pact. He was making the comment to Chinese media, explaining that Ethiopians can solve their matters despite international pressure for a ceasefire. He's confirmed the Federal Army's capture of the Tigrayan towns of Shire, Aksum and Adwa last month from the rebel Tigray People's Liberation Front. The AU says there is no date limitation on the talks, which began on October 25th in South Africa. Still ahead on Network Africa, 12 international contemporary artists showcased their works of art against Egypt's Giza pyramids. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're in Mozambique as authorities say close to 90 Islamist militants alongside their hostages have surrendered to the government over the past 2 months in Musimba, the Praia in Cabo Delgado province. It's a place that has grappled with a brutal jihadist insurgency that has created a massive humanitarian crisis in the north of the country. President Filipe Nyusi in September announced a pardon for all surrendering jihadists during a tour to the province. Local administrator Sergio Cipriano says the militants were well received and the process of reconciliation and reintegration was underway. Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo want the country's ambassador to Kigali to hold on to the presentation of letters of credence to Rwandan officials until further notice. The chargé d'affaires ad interim at the Congolese embassy in Kigali has also been recalled for consultation. It was all heard on Monday, just as the expelled Rwandan ambassador to Kinshasa, Vincent Kariga, left the Congolese territory. Rwanda says it noted with regret his expulsion. The DR Congo accuses its neighbor of aggression under the proxy of M23 rebels. Rwanda has consistently denied the accusations and instead accuses DR Congo military of collusion with Rwandan Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, the FDLR for short, based in the east of the country with the intention to attack Rwanda. And more on that, of course, the Congolese government's decision comes after thousands of people joined anti-Rwanda protests in the city of Goma on Monday. These are pictures gathered from the incident denouncing Rwanda's alleged support of the M23 rebels. They marched and rode motorbikes down the streets of Goma, waving branches in the air before clashing with police. Reports say protesters marched and rode motorbikes, waving branches before they clashed with the police, as some of them tried to cross into Rwanda at the Grande Barrière, a border post where police fired tear gas to stop them. Reports also say the crowd threw stones in response and also targeted the empty offices of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, an intergovernmental group which includes Congo and Rwanda. There they tore down posters and burnt a photo of Rwandan President Paul Kagame. Rwanda still denies Congo the long-standing accusations that it backs M23, the rebels, a Tutsi-led insurgency that has staged attacks on Congolese forces in eastern provinces near the Rwandan border since 2012.
We are suffering more, and it's because of war of M23. And we know we have one country who support them is Rwanda. So now we are protesting because of our neighbors, Rwanda. Yes.
Spokesperson for the UN Secretary-General Stefan Dujarric says a third of 9 vessels from Ukraine arrived in Tunisia over the weekend through the Black Sea Grain Initiative, bringing more than 78,000 tons of soft wheat to the country. A fourth vessel, he says, is scheduled to land today in Tunis with 30,000 tons of corn. The supply from these shipments is expected to cover 1/3 of the monthly import needs of wheat and corn to Tunisia. According to Dujarric, the Tunisian population faced high inflation and continued shortages of basic food items in the past months. To alleviate the situation, he says, the World Food Programme will distribute some 600 tons of food to 7,500 vulnerable households in rural areas over the next few days.
In Tunisia, the third of 9 vessels from Ukraine arrived over the weekend through the Black Sea Grain Initiative, bringing more than 78,000 tons of soft wheat to the country. A 4th vessel is scheduled to land today in Tunis with 30,000 tons of corn. The supplies from these shipments is expected to cover 1/3 of the monthly import needed for wheat and corn to Tunisia. These are commercial vessels. They are not humanitarian shipments. In the past month, the Tunisian population faced high inflation and continued shortage of basic food items. To alleviate the situation, the World Food Programme will distribute some 600 tons of food to 7,500 vulnerable households in rural areas in the next few days. For its part, the UN Children's Fund will expand a monthly cash transfer program to families with children in need for a period of up to 18 months. In the capital, Kyiv.
Checking in on Tanzania, which has recorded a growth in population from 44.9 million to 60 million in the space of at least 10 years. According to President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the difference is as much as 37%. She's quoted as saying, such population might not be a big deal for a huge country like ours, but it's a burden when it comes to allocating resources and delivering social services. Census results reveal women represent 51% of the general population. Or maybe you'll find some peace in this next story. You get the opportunity to watch several works of art in front of Egypt's pyramids in an art exhibition titled Forever is Now. You can watch a glimpse of it if you do stay long enough in the country. The exhibition continues till the end of November.
Out in the open, with the view of Egypt's Giza pyramids in the background, contemporary artists showcase their pieces. The exhibition Forever is Now opened on October 27th and will stay until the end of November. It's the second edition by Art d'Egypte, an Egyptian cultural platform promoting contemporary art in heritage sites. Some of the participants explain the meaning of their work.
This 20 meters of metal line on the floor. You can walk in during the day or during the night. There will be a really strong light of line that go to the pyramids and go after it. And you can go walk down and follow the light and be amazed that this is a magnificent place.
ساعة في النخل لأن أنا أجي من منطقة اسمها الأحساء السعودية. فاحنا عند واحة نخيل نستخدم الجريد النخل ذا باستمرار في حياتنا اليوميه يعني وكذي. فانا حاولت ان انا في ممارستي الفنيه من فتره ان انا استخدمه يعني. في نفس الوقت في الانابيب الماي ذي اللي جايه من بير نشف من الماي. فانا قاعد احاول اجمع يعني اجين زي ما قلنا احلام وامال الناس وخيباتهم داخل عمل واحد.
This art lover is enjoying the installations of 12 international artists and seems to appreciate the theme.
While we were in the pyramids area, I believe we were speaking about a timeless area, defying the time which is the presence of pyramids built more than 7,000 years ago. So saying that forever is now, that means we are mimicking something that happened a long time ago, and we are linking forever to now.
And as night falls on the city, the sunset creates its own art, the great outdoors.
And as we end the program, we're looking at the videos from earlier today. Nigeria's Flamingos arriving back in the country from India after winning bronze at the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. A team led by Coach Bankole Oluokere arrived this afternoon at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, to a warm reception by the Nigeria Football Federation. Nigeria defeated Germany 3-1 penalties after the game ended 3-3 at regulation time to win a third-place match. It will be the first time the Flamingos have reached this stage since the inception of the tournament. The Nigeria Football Federation's President Ibrahim Gusau presented the victorious Flamingos to the Sports Minister, Sunday Gary. Huge congratulations to the Flamingos. Well done, ladies. And that's the program today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.